Here we go. This is about the jealousy thing that I was referencing earlier. I will post it on here, and then I will also post it on YouTube, so have a look out for that. But listen, you cannot talk about jealousy without talking about envy, right? Because when we're getting into feeling states, especially ones that people are less comfortable with, like anger or jealousy, there's a lot of shame with that. So I'm just going to go, instead of discussing each kind of jealousy individually, I'm just going to kind of go a broader brush, if you will, of what it is, along with envy and what that is, and then kind of break down how you can help work yourself through that. Okay? So let me start out with the difference between jealousy and envy. Jealousy is when you're afraid of losing something, versus envy, which is you being wanting something that somebody else has that you don't, right? So they tend to go hand in hand. They're not always together, but one can definitely be confused for the other. I want to talk a little bit about the perceived threat that happens when jealousy starts up. It's your ego, right? And your ego is very delicate. Everybody's ego is. So when something happens, like your partner gets a new somebody, or even a friend gets a new car, or your family treats your sibling better than you, any of those things, your pets, the whole nine, right? All of that stuff is a perceived threat. And so what your body is going to do is react to that. Why wouldn't it react to that, right? First kind of step is perceiving what the lack is. So both jealousy and envy are the feeling of lacking something, right? Is it jealous or is it envy that I'm feeling? And how you go about doing that is you say to yourself, am I afraid of losing something? Or is it something that I want that somebody else has? To help combat what you're lacking, right? It's about playing the abundance game. And what I mean by that is, what do you already have? What's your value? How do you get attention? Like, what does that mean to you, right? And then reviewing that. So once you've identified what it is, whether it's jealousy or envy, what is it that you're afraid of losing? And you work through that. And you think to yourself, why am I afraid of losing that? Okay, what do I have? What do I have? What are the amazing things that I already have in my life? That's your abundance game, right? And if it's envy and you're like, man, I wish I had this thing or that thing. It's a matter of thinking about the things that you do have. If you don't ever have any bad, how will you know when you have a good, right? Those who have less than what they see in you, how have you gotten the things that you've wanted? And how can you go about getting what you want now? You can go through a third party to kind of get what you want, but it usually puts them in a weird position, like another friend in a friendship situation, or if you're in a romantic relationship and their friend. That can help, because it's somebody else who might speak a different language. And then I do want to talk about being consciously jealous. So there's the deniability that happens. Don't do that, because when you do that, you're just going to manifest all of that stuff you're holding back, right? And be conscious of it and be like, hey, I need to talk to my partner about it, or my friend, or whoever that might be. What happens is, once you start getting into that jealousy or envy area, you start to create and manifest the negative aspects of that, because that's what you're concentrating on. Versus are you conscious of your jealousy? And if you're conscious of it, you can work through that and put more energy into connecting with yourself and making the connection between you and that person that you're feeling with stronger, instead of dwelling on the bad of what's happening. and what you think might be happening, because jealousy is a lot of perceived information. So again, always communication, right? So I mean, jealousy happens. It's gonna happen. It happens to every single one of us, me included. Although I tend to be more situationally jealous, it's still a thing. It still happens. We are programmed from when we are children to be competitive, right? Especially women. And even particularly for men, which is kind of interesting, right? But just because in our world where we might be in queer land, where we don't do the heteronormative thing, it's still been put into our brains because of society and how we were raised. So it definitely happens, and just don't deny it or oppress it. You need to gain a valid perspective of what's going on, because your emotions are a great thing and you can absolutely have those emotions, but you need to be able to self-soothe and make sure that you do have that switch of your focus from dwelling on the negative aspects of jealousy and moving into, okay, so I'm feeling like I'm not getting enough time with this person. How can I get more time with them? Discuss it with them, bring it up, because again, hiding that stuff, it's not going to help you or the other person. You know, there are different kinds of beliefs that people have that affect jealousy, and like everybody has their core beliefs. This kind of goes back into how we were all raised, right? And then there's also a changed belief. There's self-destructive beliefs. So obviously, again, how we were raised tends to kind of formulate that. And if that's what we know, that's what we're going to practice. And if it's worked for us, if it's kept us alive, why wouldn't we continue to do that, right? A lot of people associate the jealousy and the envy with a protective mechanism. And it is. It is for a lot of people. Your body is alerting you to something that you are feeling. Doesn't mean the other person did anything, but it's alerting you to you feeling something. So you just can reflect on your thoughts of what it is and put positivity towards it. That's a giant step, because why not, right? Okay, so we all know that probably the main issue with jealousy and envy tends to be low self-esteem, right? It's always associated with it. It's not like you get jealousy without it, honestly, or envy. And of course, then we go into the vein that I always preach, which is self-love. The more you love yourself, the better, right? Trying to work through, like, if you're already jealous about something, you're having a struggle. So don't compound that. Because of the comparison thinking that we're taught when we're younger, we were taught how to excel and become the best at something, right? At least I was. I can only speak for myself. Everybody's different, but I'm sure there's guilt and shame in there somewhere for all of us, right? So, you know, there's a little self-abuse in that. If the people who have raised us have taught us this method, because honestly, they didn't know any better themselves, then that kind of puts us in the self-abuse of, I have to be the best, and if I'm not the best, then I'm failing. That's hard, man. That's really hard, because that doesn't mean that you're failing. It means you're unique and different. And nobody should be able to fit into a particular cookie cutter idea of anything. That's the whole point. If we were all supposed to be exactly the same, then I don't know, wouldn't we have evolved to that by now? I mean, it's more important to feel as though we are unique and that we need to concentrate on what makes us unique from other people. I mean, honestly, this is a huge thing that I talk about in marketing. When I'm helping different like architectural design firms or whatever who are chasing projects, sometimes they get caught up in who the competition is. We're not going to beat them. So we have to be ourselves. And if we're going to be ourselves, what does that require? So relearning yourself and learning out of that cycle that we've grown up with is a major important aspect. You should celebrate your uniqueness, is my point. What I was talking about earlier about making sure you're thinking about the things you have and all of that, that's great. That's more aesthetically speaking and whatnot. But no matter what your beliefs are, whether you're religious or not, I believe in universal power, right? So if you have any kind of God, whichever God that is the universal power. That's the creation, and your intent, it is everything. So try battling that lack that you're going to feel when jealousy and envy comes up. The intent, the positive intent of what you want, it is so important. Not just for jealousy, but in general, like put that intention out there. I want to be happy for my partner. I want to be really happy for my friend. I want to be a supportive person instead of feeling like, oh, I want that. Like trying to put those positive aspects into it. Like I was talking about earlier, not unlike anger. It's considered, jealousy and envy are considered shadow emotions, so the darker side of emotion. The light that you can shine on this will help that go away, because the more you open up to it and open up to what's actually happening with your feelings, the easier and easier it'll get to work through it. I mean, if you can switch that energy and focus on being generous, like that's one of my favorite things to do when I'm down and out. I want to help somebody else, because that's what works for me. And being of service in general is something that I like to do, not just as a service top, but all the things. So just remember that you need to diffuse lack, right? Because you're valuable and you have a lot to give. Every single one of you. Be unique, be your unique self. Support that and know that. You are your own master of your point of view. Right? So that means that you get to control everything. Nobody else can control anything else. Only you. You give them that power. So, it's okay to feel jealousy and envy, like I said. I'm not saying don't. I am just re-indicating that if you feel it, work through it. Don't bottle it up. Don't build that resentment, and communicate with your partner about it. Because that universal power and that energy, it's meant to give you what you want. And you are meant to get the things that you are supposed to have and you want. So if you can rely on that and put your energy towards that, it'll help so much with that jealousy and envy. So I hope that helped. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to let me know. I would love to hear anybody's interesting and crazy stories of how jealous they've gotten, or somebody who's gotten jealous about something else. That would be great. So shoot me a video, even a DM or whatnot, and I will see you on the next one. Bye. Pew, shisha, boom, pink, boom, bang, pink, boom, 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 bang.